we're back. We're back up here on the stage at the Heartland Cafe. I'm Michael James. I'm here with my co-host,
Katie Hogan. You just were listening to Jackie Ellen sing I'll Be Around. She's going to be live on our stage tonight at 9 o'clock with a great ensemble playing great jazz and vocalizing. And come on out if you're in the hood. It's going to be the best show going.
And we're going to welcome our next guest now, Elliot Zashin. Good morning to you, Elliot.
Good morning.
Morning, neighbor.
Elliot is a member of the 9th District Move On Council, and he called to make some arrangements for doing an event here at the Heartland, and I snatched him up to be on the radio. So good morning to you.
Well, thanks very much. I'm really glad to be here.
Welcome, and thanks for your work. What is your work these days, Elliot, with Move On?
I've been spending a lot of time with the Move On Council. This is a project that's really been in existence for almost 2 years, building a local organization that can function effectively. As most people probably know, Move On is largely an online organization, has a lot of email subscribers and supporters, and often ask them to come out for events. But about 2 years ago, I guess after the last election, Move On decided that it needed to have some grassroots organizations that would mobilize people and, in fact, get them more involved. The online organization has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. It's very anonymous, and many people, they get these messages, they don't really know where they come from and who's sending them. So Move On began to start organizing local councils. There were some fits and starts in the beginning, but basically we're a very democratic organization. Anybody who wants to be a member in our area is welcome to join, and if you come to meetings regularly, you become a member of the core. And that's what I have been involved with now for probably a year and a half. I've been involved with Move On for several years, mostly doing the kinds of things that Move On was doing, which was making phone calls to people in other districts where there were close races, and trying to influence people who are likely to support our candidate to come out. The Move On Council experience has been a very interesting one because it's kind of I wouldn't say an experiment, but a version of grassroots democracy. As I said, very democratic, very open. And we discovered over time that as we were getting a good deal of direction from National Move On, that we felt we had to do certain things the way we wanted to do them, and to develop a set of priorities that we felt would be important to lay out and to continue working on over a considerable period of time. One of the drawbacks, or I hate to criticize Move On, but one of the drawbacks I think people sometimes react to is that there seem to be rapid directives coming out frequently saying, let's do an action here, can we have a host to do a program here, can somebody be at a certain location and organize a protest. And sometimes it just gets a little too hectic and you wonder, well, what's the protest of the week? And people, I think, feel that it's a little too much. I mean, most of our people work, they have regular jobs, and you can't turn up somewhere in the Loop or, say, in Evanston on a short notice. So we developed on our own a number of priorities. They were all consistent with Move On's positions. It wasn't as if we were taking stands in opposition, but we felt there were 3 major areas that we wanted to concentrate on. We kind of broke into subgroups, and people have been following up on these. One of these is to bring the issue of our involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan back onto people's radar. It's amazing to me at times how people have forgotten that we're still heavily involved in these 2 wars, spending a lot of money, spending a lot of human treasure there, and we feel that it's time to start winding this down in a very meaningful way, not bluffing about how many troops are being withdrawn, but actually start bringing our troops home, getting out of these 2 conflicts which seem to grind on inexorably. So that's one issue. We really are trying to figure out how we can get people more aware of that and to promote
To
actions.
be anti-war again.
Right. Second area is democratic reforms. One of the things Move On made a big deal about during the last campaign was a Stand for Democracy pledge, basically asking candidates if they would support a constitutional amendment to reverse Citizens United, the Citizens United decision of the Supreme Court. I think most people know about that. There's polls indicate that about 80% of people agree that it ought to be overturned, although I'm as a former political scientist, I'm surprised that so many people
Tell
know
our
about
listeners
that.
what that is.
Well, the Citizens United decision basically reaffirmed the notion that corporations are people or persons legally, and that they have the right of free speech just as any individual American does. And if they spend money on campaigns, that's the same thing as my spending, giving money to a candidate or a party, and they can spend pretty much unlimited amounts. And so really opened up something that was already happening, but made it much more likely to happen, and I think that was evidenced in the last campaign.
Did it not offer protection for that sort of activity in some way? That Supreme Court decision?
It basically reversed regulations. I think was the
there we go. Yes, reversing regulations.
The Federal Elections
Commission.
Right. Had put some restrictions on when money could be sent, and this basically eliminated that.
Right.
So it really opened that. So that's one of the democratic reforms. Another one that's been proposed for decades is to have public financing of elections at all levels, but particularly at the federal level. And I don't need to go into the reasons for that. I think people know how much money it costs to
might be a hard sell.
Organize an election. It's been a hard sell.
It might be a hard sell during the recession.
Well, it's also a hard sell because the incumbents aren't eager to find out that they may have opponents who can get public financing. But that's a second, another
Even our
issue.
president initially was going to get public finance, and then he opted out.
That's right.
Right. So that's a second part of democratic reforms. There are others. Those are two key ones that I think most commentators believe would really change the political environment quite a bit.
And the third area?
Third issue is to fight for those programs that really protect the most vulnerable parts of our population. The Medicare reform, we'd obviously like to see Medicare, Medicaid reform go further than it did, but we certainly don't want to see it rolled back. We want to fight for preserving Social Security as we have enjoyed it, and we hope that future generations of workers
for Social Security
will be able to enjoy it. So that's another one, and certainly educational programs. There are many programs where the beneficiaries are people who are most vulnerable in our society, people who are having the most trouble finding work and so forth. These are targeted by the right as programs that we don't really need, and that we should balance our budget by cutting back here. And we're definitely opposed to that. We would like to see cuts in other areas, for example, military expenditures. There's a good deal of support for corporations in our budget. People don't realize that, and so we're trying to maintain that as an issue. We've been in conversation with Jan Schakowsky now for quite a while, and Jan has been very supportive. In fact, I think Jan has been moving out more and more vocally on these issues. She's proposed her own tax reduction or deficit reduction plan, which shifts the burden where it ought to be. And we're now trying to get the same kind of relationship with Senator Durbin. Not so easy to really get to talk to a senator these days. You can speak with their staff, but we want to develop a relationship with him because we really feel it's important to press him on a number of these issues. Let me just say one other thing. I think we're running short on time. This Monday is a big day. It's tax day, and Move On is going, and not only Move On, but other organizations, is going to have a number of actions. I just want to mention them. If you go to moveon.org on the internet, you'll find in the Chicago area there's going to be a protest at 100 North Riverside Plaza, and that's going to be sponsored by one of our other Move On councils in the city. Their target is going to be Boeing. What Move On has done is pick out about 10 corporations, very large corporations, including Boeing, Chase, Bank of America, others, ExxonMobil, FedEx, Goldman Sachs, Chase. They're all getting away with very limited taxes. Some of them pay no taxes at all because of various wrinkles in our tax code. So they're targeted, saying we have to pay taxes as citizens. Why don't corporations pay their fair share? There's also going to be one in at Bussey and Greenwood at the Bank of America and Chase Bank, and that's in Park Ridge. These are going to start at noon. Another one at 63rd and Kingery on the south side at the Bank of America at 12:30.
Elliot, do we have a website that would list some of these?
MoveOn.org.
MoveOn.org should list. There should be links to the actions on Monday, April 18th.
Let me ask you one question in our short time left. One of the things that captured my attention when I talked to you was you said there are a lot of organizations doing good and having a lot of activities, and sometimes these activities overlap, and that one of the goals that you had with the 9th District Council of Move On was to sort of coordinate activities. And how is, that's like sometimes it's like herding wild animals to get progressives to work together. And I'm just wondering how that effort is coming along and what your plans are to make that happen.
Thanks, Michael. That's why I'm down here at the Heartland today, and I really appreciate Michael's invitation to let us come here. We've been working with two other organizations, Jobs with Justice and Citizen Action, which are well known in the area. And we said, look, we need to get people who are active in these organizations, both staff and volunteers, to get to know each other. Some of us know each other because we've been in this racket for a while, but some people don't. And when something's going on, you want to get in touch with somebody, it's great if you can call somebody up. They know who you are, they know your track record, they know you can be relied on. Those are the kinds of connections we want to make. So we invited a lot of other organizations to come down, just to send 2 or 3 people. This is an informal conversation, but to talk about 3 things. One, who we are, what our organizations do, how we're involved. 2, where our priorities overlap. There's a lot of single-issue organizations, but as we're seeing more and more now, the dots really do link up. You can't talk about health care without talking about the deficit. You can't talk about union, the cutback on public sector workers, employees, without talking about what's happening to unions and what's happened to middle-class income. So these issues really all are related. The same thing with the war, where we're spending our money. So we have to work together, even if our main priority may be different, our main mission may be different. We need to figure out where our priorities overlap. And to figure out what are the top priorities, which are the ones we can work on together. And the third piece is to start a conversation. How do we collaborate? How can we keep each other posted? How can we make sure that we support each other's events? The thing that I find most, not troubling, but amusing at times, I'll hear about one action and about 2 blocks away down in the loop, there's another rally about an hour later on a related but not the same issue, and I wonder, why are we doing this? We ought to be combining on key events, and I think Monday, April 18th is a good example. A lot of groups are coming together with actions on this date around the same kind of issues.
Well, Elliot Zashin, it's really great to have you on the show. I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. I've seen you around, and now I know I got the name and the face together.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thanks for talking to us today, Elliot. And folks who want to know more, go to MoveOn.org. The group that Elliot's activating is meeting in the Red Line Tap later today.
At 11.
At 11 a.m.
I want to thank a few people who helped make the show possible. I want to thank our producers, Laura Herman and Lisa Smith. I want to thank our associate producer and videographer, Dan Kugler. I want to thank Eli Sloan, who's down at the station, our in-station engineer. I want to thank Angel Herrera, who is our on-site engineer, and I want to thank everybody who makes this show possible, because we're really happy to be bringing it to you on WLUW 88.7 Chicago Sound Alliance. Both Katie Hogan and myself want to encourage you to do good in the world, because the world needs all the good that you do. And we like to say that it's still a possibility in our lifetime. Power to the people.
Right on.
And so that's it.
Back again next week with a brand new show.
And we have next week coming up, we're going to have Matthew Filipovics who's going to do a little comedy. We're going to have Rachel Henry talking about Compass to Care, and Jamie O'Reilly who's going to do a little bit from her May Day soiree. So that's it for Live from the Heartland. Over and out.